All right, our top story now. Let's get our viewers up to speed on the total number of active coronavirus cases in India as of 7 p.m. stand at 1,074. The death toll has climbed to 35. Kerala is now the worst hit state in the country. It has overtaken Maharashtra with 182 active corona cases. 32 fresh cases have been reported in Kerala. Maharashtra is now at 172 active cases. Pune in Maharashtra reported its first death today. Maharashtra continues to be affected in terms of death with 9 deaths so far. The centre, however, maintains that no community transmission of COVID-19 virus has happened so far, as there was confusion because one of the government documents suggested that limited community transmission is there. But the government today made it clear, only local transmission. India still in stage 2.
I think, we have to come out of the semantics, and we have used the word in a very limited context in a way to highlight what we are going to do action at field. Nowhere we are saying there is community transmission. It is only local transmission in this country. Let me repeat it. And we will be the first one to get back to you to explain that yes, there is community transmission in the country if need be. Because if it is going to be there, we will come back to you, and through you would like to inform community to increase our level of alertness and management at the field level. So in a very lighter vein, I would just like to highlight, kindly allow us to use the word community as and when we think we need it, but it is not put it in the context in which you are trying to interpret it.
All right, let's move on now. There has been a sense of anxiousness by many people, many citizens in the country on the possible plans of the government to extend the 21-day lockdown. Well, on day 6th of the lockdown, which is today, the government has denied all rumours of a possible extension of the lockdown, which has been placed in a bid to break transmission of the coronavirus. Sources have told India Today that the final call in extension will only be taken 2 to 3 days ahead of April 14th, depending upon the situation then. In his weekly radio address, Prime Minister Modi yesterday said that there was no other way to stop the spread of the virus. But one thing that we can be very clear about is that the lockdown right now remains for just 21 days and will end in the next 15 days. India is 1 day away from completing 1 week of the 21-day lockdown.
As India grips under sense of fear due to corona outbreak and spread and months-long lockdown anticipation, the clarification has come from the union government by none other than the cabinet secretary that the national lockdown, the pan-India lockdown, is unlikely to be extended beyond 21 days. Remember, Prime Minister Modi announced pan-India lockdown to contain the possibility of corona outbreak, and now there were also rumors and anticipation whether it is going to be extended beyond 21 days at several state agencies, and the passes, essential passes were given as the deadline of 30th June. In fact, all the schemes announced by centre and different states for the welfare of the people were for the 3 months. So that gave also anticipation, but the biggest relief coming from the announcement made by Prasar Bharati, quoting the Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba, that the pan-India, the lockdown is unlikely to be extended beyond 21 days, and that's somewhere also an attempt to contain all the rumor mongering and scuttle the panic amongst the people. So that means the 14th April, finally the pan-India lockdown will be lifted. In New Delhi with Pawan, this is Ashutosh Mishra for India Today.
All right, let's listen in to what the Prime Minister had said when he had announced this 21-day lockdown.
आज रात 12 बजे से पूरे देश में, ध्यान से सुनिए, पूरे देश में आज रात 12 बजे से संपूर्ण देश में संपूर्ण लॉकडाउन होने जा रहा है। हिंदुस्तान को बचाने के लिए, हिंदुस्तान के हर नागरिक को बचाने के लिए, आपको बचाने के लिए, आपके परिवार को बचाने के लिए आज रात 12 बजे से घरों से बाहर निकलने पर पूरी तरह पाबंदी लगाई जा रही है। देश के हर राज्य को हर केंद्र शासित प्रदेश को, हर जिले, हर गांव, हर कस्बे, हर गली मोहल्ले को अब लॉकडाउन किया जा रहा है। ये एक तरह से कर्फ्यू ही है। जनता कर्फ्यू से भी कुछ कदम आगे की बात।
So it was a 21-day lockdown. There was some confusion. And why was this confusion generated, which seemed to suggest that there might be an extension of this 21-day lockdown? I want to bring in my colleague Anand Patel, who's joining us. Anand, it possibly all started with a tweet by Prasar Bharati, which seemed to suggest that this lockdown would be extended. But then, effectively, that tweet was taken down and an explanation was given.
The Konogia assignment, sir, please.
Anand, can you hear me? Anand, can you hear me? All right, let's move on to the news break that is coming in. Now, a video clip of the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath scolding the Noida DM, the Noida District Magistrate, has gone viral. Yogi Adityanath is seen scolding Noida DM and other officials over preparations to tackle the coronavirus after the meeting. Noida DM has asked for 3-month leave and said he won't be able to work here.
बकवास कर करके आप लोगों ने माहौल खराब किया है। यहाँ पे जिम्मेदारियों का निर्वहन करने की बजाय एक दूसरे के ऊपर वो डालना। और 2 महीने पहले अलर्ट जारी किया था हम लोगों ने, यहाँ पे पूरे प्रदेश के लिए जारी किया था।
All right, so this was Yogi Adityanath screaming at the district magistrate, scolding him for not taking adequate measures, especially where the migrant population is concerned. But what has happened right now is that the DM has stepped down, saying he cannot work in Noida. We'll continue to get you the latest on that, but let's just shift focus. With coronavirus cases crossing 1,000 in India, the government at the centre and state are stepping up their efforts to expand the health facilities across the country. The hospitals, hotels and stadiums are being turned into isolation centres. Here's the full report.
The number of confirmed coronavirus cases is now over 1,000. And as the numbers grow, the Health Ministry is changing its strategy to fight the virus. To begin with, the trauma center at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Delhi has been turned into a full-fledged coronavirus unit.
As the number of positive corona cases growing every day in the country, the centre and states have decided to dedicate hospital for the corona disease and the treatment. So after this, several states, now it is the centre in the national capital have declared one isolated building in the national capital, which will be made completely dedicated only to treat the corona cases.
The private sector is also being roped in. The Max Hospital in Delhi's Saket area is now a COVID-19 hospital.
I think what needs to be done is you need to prepare COVID-only facilities versus all the facilities for it. Whether it's a private player or whether it is the government at large, they need to focus those resources, the personal protection equipment, the testing kits and so on and so forth, in those facilities which are COVID-only facilities.
In Greater Noida, the Uttar Pradesh government is converting JP Sports City into a quarantine facility for migrant workers.
Right now you can see various sanitation measures are being undertaken here, where about 6-7 beds being placed in one room, and the sanitation worker sanitizing the entire area. About 900 rooms is what is there in this entire shelter home.
2000 तक की व्यवस्था हमारे यहाँ पर है रुकने की. हम कोशिश करेंगे एज अर्ली एज पॉसिबल जितना जल्दी हो सके उसको हम तैयार करें.
The Yogi Adityanath government has taken over 4 prominent hotels to use them as quarantine centers for medical staff.
We are right now outside Hyatt Regency Hotel, and this hotel has also been acquired by the district administration. You can see that both the entry and exit gates of this hotel have been closed, and the hotels that have been acquired are Hyatt, Marriott, Piccadilly and Lemon Tree. Hotel Hyatt and Marriott will be reserved for the staff of Ram Manohar Lohia Medical Institute, while Piccadilly and Lemon Tree will be for the staff of Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences.
The K. Chandrasekhar Rao government has turned the GMC Balayogi Athletic Stadium in Gachibowli into a 50-bed isolation center. The Assam government is converting Saru Sajai Stadium in Guwahati into a mass quarantine center with a capacity of 1,000 beds. The construction work is in the last leg.
यहाँ पे आपका 270 बेड का तैयार हो गया ऑलमोस्ट. डिपार्टमेंट की तरफ से जैसे कहा गया था उस तरह से पूरा फुलफिल किया गया है उनका, और बाकी बेड्स अलग उस तरह बनाया जा रहा है. टोटल 1000 बेड्स यहाँ पे होंगे.
The new measures indicate that the government is gearing up to meet the challenge of community spread if it happens. Bureau Report, India Today.
India under 21-day lockdown, 1.3 billion asked to stay home in an attempt to prevent the spread of coronavirus. The Resident Welfare Association across the country have empowered them with tasks which they're not even being paid for or get any benefit of, playing a crucial role now in preventing the spread of the virus. Here's the full report.
If you live in a gated colony, you know what we're talking about. Resident welfare associations. Across the country, they've now become the first line of defense against the COVID-19 pandemic. From barring entry to visitors to enforcing social distancing, RWAs are at the forefront. Let's take you across the country to see how it's working out. In Delhi's Ashok Vihar, the RWA is in constant touch with the people and social organizations, making sure that people's needs are being taken care of.
कोविड-19 से जीत गए तो
आप सबसे भी अनुरोध यही है कि प्रशासन जैसा कह रहा है वैसे वैसे पालन करें, वरना अगर इटली वाली जैसी पोजीशन, अमेरिका जैसी पोजीशन या वुहान जैसी पोजीशन दिल्ली में बन गई ना, तो कैजुअलिटी कितनी होगी हम इमेजिन नहीं कर सकते. और विशेषकर अशोक विहार तो 2-3 साइड से क्लस्टर से घिरा हुआ है.
In Delhi's suburbs of Noida and Ghaziabad, many RWAs have been issuing guidelines on the precautions to be taken to avoid infection.
हमने इसमें क्या किया है, कुछ गाइडलाइंस तय की हैं जिसमें कि आउटसाइड वेंडर्स, मेड्स वगैरह को हमने बिल्कुल बैन कर दिया है सोसाइटी में, कि कोई भी हाउस मेड्स वगैरह सोसाइटी में अलाउड नहीं है. दूसरा, कोई भी दूसरे वेंडर्स जो होते हैं, हॉकर है या कोरियर वाले हैं, उनको सोसाइटी के अंदर जाना मना है.
Housing societies like this one in Kalyan in Mumbai have even installed a wash basin at the society's gate. Even milk packets are being sanitized here.
We can see over here at a housing society in Kalyan where milk packets which are being delivered, which were delivered at doorstep, are now being kept at the reception itself, at the security check itself. These packets are sanitized and only then delivered to the person to whom the delivery was to be made.
Housing complexes are also spraying disinfectant in every corner of the society on a regular basis.
We are advising the entire community, I mean all the people here who are living here, we are telling them to disinfect their apartment door handles and everything.
There have been multiple steps taken by Residents Welfare Association wherein they've employed their labor force to clean all important places where people tend to touch, especially like the doorknobs, lift buttons, and also there have been proper awareness posters which are also set up.
The RWAs at Richmond and Langford Town in Bengaluru have closed the park to avoid crowding. They're also warning people on fake news on COVID-19 through WhatsApp groups.
The children's play area over there, you can clearly see they have actually put the tape around it so that children or kids do not come over there and play, because if someone is infected, you're touching the same thing. You're touching all the rods. A person who's hale and hearty, that is a child, will also touch the same thing or same rods and touch his or her face.
But for every bit of good, there's also bad. There have been several complaints that RWAs are acting in a draconian manner and sometimes being very finicky. Couple this with incidents where RWAs have been accused of hounding and harassing individuals, especially doctors and airline crew members.
There were no groceries in my sector. The only one shop that was open in my sector, they did not have this stuff. When I was trying to enter the sector, the guard tried to stop me. I tried to explain him that why I'm here. I'll just take 5 minutes. I'll buy the stuff that I need to buy because that's the only place we go, usually, every time. But guards, they started throwing a big, huge tantrum and they tried to stop me. One of the guard even came in front of my car and said, "Madam, nahi jaane denge. Hame strict instructions hain." So it was quite a bizarre situation.
The war against coronavirus calls for plenty of discipline, and towards this end, resident welfare associations are playing a very important role. But are there more heroes or are there more villains? With Divyesh Singh in Mumbai, Akshay Nath in Chennai, Nolan Pinto in Bengaluru, Bureau Report, India Today.
Meanwhile, let's just shift focus right now. Of course, this is what's happening in the cities with RWA, but what is happening with all the migrants who have now decided to march back to their villages? Well, now a huge question of sensitivity is being raised. This is a story of complete apathy. Migrant laborers returning to their homes from cities were forced by the administration in Uttar Pradesh's Bareilly to take an open bath in groups with sanitizer solution before they were allowed entry into the district. As you can see on your television screens, the workers were made to sit outside satellite bus stations in Bareilly and were sprayed with sodium hypochlorite solution. The workers were allegedly sprayed with the disinfectant to prevent the spreading of coronavirus. The video of the incident, which has gone viral on social media, a man can be seen directing the workers to turn and close their eyes while the disinfectant is being sprayed at them. While we rescued stranded Indians from abroad in special planes, but is this how we decide to treat our poor? Meanwhile, amidst the coronavirus crisis, ventilators have now come to be a critical resource for those who develop breathing problems due to COVID-19. Here is a report on what exactly is a ventilator and where does India stand on the ventilator count. What is a ventilator and why would corona-positive patients need one? A ventilator is used when the lungs fail to function and when breathing centers of the brain fail to control respiration. Empirical evidence in COVID-19 patients suggests that 1/3 could develop acute respiratory distress syndrome. In the times of corona, a ventilator has now come to be a critical resource, but a resource in acute short supply. Where does India stand in terms of numbers? India till now has roughly a little over 40,000 ventilators, breaking it down state by state. Maharashtra estimates at 1,000 ventilators both in private and government hospitals. Kerala has an estimate of 1,700 ventilators in private and government hospitals. Delhi has 1,100 ventilators in private and government hospitals. Karnataka has 1,200 ventilators in private and government hospitals. Rajasthan has just 600 ventilators in private and government hospitals, while Haryana has a number of 1,200 in both private and government hospitals. Telangana has an abysmal 240 ventilators in both private and government hospitals, while Gujarat has one of the maximum number of ventilators in the country, 2,360 ventilators in private and government hospitals. Uttar Pradesh, with only government figures right now, has 1,150. The government now has banned export of any ventilators while already looking at acquiring more.
वेंटिलेटर्स की जो एक कमी स्टेट में कंट्री में महसूस की गई थी, उसके हिसाब से उसको अपग्रेड करने के लिए हमारे एक पीएसयू को हमने 10,000 वेंटिलेटर की आपूर्ति करने के लिए आदेश जारी किए हैं। इसके साथ ही भारत इलेक्ट्रॉनिक लिमिटेड से भी 1 से 2 महीने के अंतर्गत 30,000 एडिशनल वेंटिलेटर खरीदने का अनुरोध किया गया है।
Most ventilators in India are either imported or assembled using imported components. If one is to assume the worst-case scenario in India, where at the peak of the pandemic 1.2 million citizens could need critical care, it is vital for the government to direct local manufacturers to mass produce ventilators. And the government has already approached the automobile industry to pitch in.
The ministry had approached us to consider what kind of help we could give, particularly in the area of ventilators. Now, they sent us also a list of existing ventilator manufacturers whom they had. And we considered what would be the best way of making available much larger quantities of ventilators in the short time which was available.
Ultimately, it will be all resources in. While ventilators remain the gold standard needed for critical patients, all positive pressure oxygen machines will be used in emergency to tide over the health crisis. This would mean simpler oxygen regulatory machines used at home like CPAP, continuous airway pressure machines to treat sleep apnea, or the more complex version of that, the BiPAP, bi-level positive airway pressure. But both, nothing compared to the assistance given by a ventilator. Bureau Report, India Today. All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of news. Do stay tuned. News and updates continue on the other side. Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.